Is there a new best weapon in town after patch 1.2? I don't know if it's a buff or if it's a bug, but either way, you should try the DC-15LE. Today's blaster breakdown focuses on the second available weapon for the heavy class, the DC-15LE. Since patch 1.2, there is a bug, I'm pretty sure it's not a permanent buff, with this one that affects the exploding shot. I will give you both the 1.2 numbers as well as what it's supposed to actually be at, so that way you don't get blindsided when it gets fixed. This will make the video a little longer, but just stick with me. This weapon, like all others, has 3 attachments, but unlike most, all 3 are viable and reliable options. The attachments are the reduced recoil, exploding round, and improved zoom. As of patch 1.2, there were some changes made to the DC-15LE that weren't listed in the notes. Again, it's most likely a bug, but it's currently in the game. Personally, I hope these changes stay, since I think the time to kill in this game is too long as is, but all other weapons would need a buff as well in that case. If you learn anything or enjoy this video, give it a like to let me know, and then hit the subscribe and notification button so you don't miss when the next video comes out. New videos are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and streams at 8 PM on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you're looking to stay up to date on all things Star Wars related, check out our partners over at StarWarsGaming.net. They're a fantastic website. They post news updates all the time for all games that are Star Wars related, and I would highly recommend checking them out. You'll find a link down in the description down below, and stay tuned until the end, and we'll play a round of Can I Get Up There?, where some spots are useful, most are not, but it's always fun. This one will be for Phase 2 and 3 on Jakku for the Resistance side, and hopefully you can get some good kills off this one. Let's get into the DC-15LE. The number of rounds the DC-15LE can fire before being forced to cool is 55 rounds without the exploding modification. This is the most amount of rounds available in class without any modifications, however it does fall to second once modifications come into play. Since there is no cooling attachment for this one, the FWMB-10K does beat it out when it comes to rounds available when you take into account modifications. As of patch 1.2, the exploding modification is not decreasing the number of rounds available, leaving it at 55 rounds. Prior to patch 1.2, and most likely what will be fixed, it will reduce back down to the 25 rounds available with the exploding modification. It does appear right now that the cooling modifications on all weapons are not working in patch 1.2, and it's also affecting this one as well. And for that, you'll notice a difference in the SE44C with the cooling attachment and the NT242 with the cooling attachment. These weapons have the same amount of rounds available in patch 1.2 with or without cooling, and it seems to be the same bug that's affecting the exploding modification in this case. Another change that has come with patch 1.2 is the rate of fire does not change with the exploding round like it's supposed to, keeping it at 720 rounds per minute that the DC-15LE has without the exploding round. Prior to the patch, the rate of fire with the exploding round was a painful 450 rounds per minute. This was tied for slowest in class alongside the FWMB-10K. The main thing the FWMB-10K, man that's a mouthful, had over the exploding round DC-15LE is the number of rounds available with the cooling modification, which is 65 rounds. However, now with 1.2, the DC-15LE has the highest rate of fire in class at 720 rounds per minute with or without the exploding modification, making it only second to the CR2 when it comes to rate of fire. When it comes to everything else, there are no discrepancies from the patch, and that includes the damage. The damage done with the DC-15LE without the exploding round is 16 damage per round at close range and 10 damage at long range. This is the lowest damage in class and is tied with the initial weapon, which shares very similar stats all around besides the base rate of fire. When you add the explosive round though, the damage increases to 25 damage per round, and at close range it's 15 damage per round. When you add the explosive round, the damage increases to 25 damage per round at close range and 15 damage per round at long range. The damage for the explosive round is very similar to the FWMB-10K, which does 24 damage at close and 15 at long. However, the FWMB-10K had more rounds before patch 1.2 without needing to cool and the same rate of fire at 450 rounds per minute. This made the FWMB10K, I think that's the last time I have to say that, a better choice if you're going to run the explosive round DC-15LE before patch 1.2 came out. If these changes do stick for the DC-15LE, it is now a lot stronger than the FWMB10K is, and I would recommend using the DC-15LE over it. However, if the changes revert back, the FWMB10K does become a better choice for the most part, as opposed to the explosive round DC-15LE. Without the exploding round, we do run a 1.9 multiplier for headshots, which is on par with all other weapons in this game, and when you add in the explosive round, it does drop to 1.6 multiplier. So headshots at close range is going to do 30.4 damage without the exploding round, and 40 damage with the exploding round. Since this weapon can be very accurate depending on your attachments, this is something to keep in mind, since it is possible to get headshots on purpose with this weapon, unlike some of the other heavy weapons out there. At close range, it will take 7 rounds to down a specialist, 10 to down an officer or assault, and 13 to down another heavy. And at long range, it'll take 10 for a specialist, 15 for assault or officer, and 20 for a heavy if you're not using the explosive round. If you are using the explosive round, which at this point with patch 1.2 you really should be, it will take 4 rounds to down a specialist, 6 to down an officer or assault, and 8 to down a heavy. At long range, it will take 7 for a specialist, 10 for officer and assault, and 13 for heavy. Now, if the changes revert back from patch 1.2 to 1.1, it is faster to down enemy players with the exploding round. However, it does have less rounds available before you're forced to cool. So while it will take you 13 rounds to down a heavy at far range with the explosive round pre-patch 1.2, and 13 is a lot better number than 20, 13 rounds with the explosive shot is half your magazine. Whereas if you're not using the explosive shot, the 20 rounds it takes to down a heavy is not half your magazine. So that is something to keep in mind. It is player's preference, and personally I do prefer faster firing weapons with lower damage than slower firing weapons with more damage. That's why I generally run the CR2, SE44C, or TL50 over the other options available if the changes revert back to the numbers before patch 1.2. When it comes to the cooling for the heavy class, it does get rather painful. A manual cool on the other classes is around 1 second. When you get into heavies, it's close to 4 seconds. If you overheat the weapon, the blue on a heavy weapon will take 3.5 seconds to come up, and it's actually better to overheat your weapon on purpose and hit the blue as soon as it's available. If you wait for the gold, you will be waiting a full 5 seconds. If you do a full cooldown and don't play the minigame, you'll be waiting a super long 6 seconds. Besides the TL50, you do not want to manually cool after each kill or each group of kills, since it will take a lot longer with the heavy weapons. I would recommend overheating your weapon on purpose if you're really near the end of your magazine cycle, and then hitting the blue as soon as it becomes available so that you're ready to fight sooner. The grouping on this weapon without the reduced recoil is also extremely painful. It rises very quickly, and it groups at the highest point available, like all other heavy weapons. However, once you add the reduced recoil, it's not nearly as bad. I would always recommend running reduced recoil on this weapon for obvious reasons, and when you have the reduced recoil attached, the weapon becomes much more controllable and much more accurate than the other heavy weapons in this game. When you add the recoil reduction with the explosive shot, it is the most accurate heavy weapon by far, so it is a very good combination to run. Even without the explosive round, the reduced recoil basically will cut the rise in half when you're aimed down sights with this weapon, which makes a huge difference for those long-range fights. The final attachment that's available is the improved zoom, making the aim down sights a little bit stronger. And this is what I generally tend to run prior to the current patch with the reduced recoil. Since it doesn't change the rate of fire, it does keep you at that 720, but again, with the new patch, the explosive round's not dropping your rate of fire anyway. Right now, in patch 1.2, this is the best weapon to run until they either fix the bug that's affecting the cooling in this game, or they make the changes permanent and it ends up not being a bug but a buff. This is the strongest and best weapon in the game right now by far. I was running this in Blast the other night, and I was getting 37 to 39 kills in every single game I ran it. Granted, it is very overpowered right now, but that's just because blasters in this game are relatively weak and could use an increased time to kill buff like the DC-15LE currently has. There are going to be a lot of people who disagree with me on the need to increase the time to kill, and that's perfectly fine. Again, it is personal preference. I prefer games that are far less forgiving than this game actually is. And now it's time for Can I Get Up There? Where some locations are useful, most are not, but it's always fun. So in this one, it's on Jakku for Phase 2 and 3 for the Resistance side. And on Jakku, if you're like me, you've noticed that the majority of fighting takes place in between the two objectives, and it drives you crazy. However, if you want to get in on the fray, there is a structure in the middle between the two objectives that you can now roll up on top of. So what you'll need to do is get to the base of the tower, hit your roll button while pushing forward, and you'll roll forward up the inclined pipe that's sitting there. Once you're up there, you'll not be able to really do anything. You won't be able to jump or roll again, but you can rotate back and forth until you land on the beam, and then you can balance on the beam and move around it up on top, allowing you to get a good field of view and line of sights on the area, and get a line of sight on the approaching enemies from the base of the hill. If you're running Specialist and you're up there, you should be able to snipe off quite a few people while they start to run up, and for the most part, I hadn't had anybody really look up there to find me. I think I got shot at once while I was up there, but for the most part, a lot of people ran right underneath me, allowing me to jump underneath and kill them. I hope you learned something in this video, and if you did, I hope you hit that like and subscribe. I thank you guys for watching, and as always, I will see you in game.